Good adventures, everybody. I'm Melissa Bonzek, and welcome to episode 139 of Books Cubed, the show where I chat with authors you should be reading. This week, I have got Jeremy James Smith on. He is a fantasy author, and we're going to be talking about fantasy books and Ren Fair and so many other great things. We spoke for, I think, 90 minutes. I think the show is going to be a little long. I have not finished editing it yet. And we talked, I think, another 90 minutes after we officially ended the interview. It was so much fun to chat with. I'm reading one of his books. I am not done with it yet. So the first thing I had said to him before we started was, "No spoilers." And I am finishing book 3 in the Amy of Earth series, and that goes to the editor very soon. And all I wanted to do was sit today and read his book. So that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. So the interview is really good. Before I get to it, I'm just going to do a quick update on my broken wrist. And you can see here I am moving it. Oh my God, look at that. Down. Oh, that hurt. And then back a little bit. And if you're watching on video, I was moving my wrist around. I don't have to wear the splint during the day. It's just at night through February 14th. So, and then like if I'm doing groceries or anything like that, they said, maybe you should support the wrist and wear that. And of course, I brought all the groceries in and didn't have the splint on. And yeah, my wrist hurt for a while afterward, but I'm doing better now. The wrist is getting better. I actually wrote by hand some notes today, so I'm a happy camper. And when I go to Wild Deadwood Reads to sign books in June, I will be able to sign my name and you will be able to read it. So I was worried I was going to have to kind of scribble MEL with my left hand on the books because I always write good adventures, and sometimes I'll put a little note and the person's name and then sign my name. And that's a lot to write when you don't really have good control of your hand. So I was a little concerned, and I know June is a long way off. But when I first broke it, they said to me that they thought I was going to have to get surgery. And for the first couple of times that I went to the doctor, and they took x-rays and looked, they kept saying, "Oh, I think you're still going to have surgery." But then they finally decided I wasn't going to have to. So I was a very happy camper, and it's doing great. In fact, the last time I was there for x-rays, the doctor was surprised at how well it was doing. So that's all lovely, all lovely. And I had gotten really good actually at writing with my left hand, and I still am eating with my left hand. I tried eating cereal with a spoon this morning, and I just can't turn the spoon toward my mouth, and everything falls out before it makes it the way up there. So I'm still eating with my left hand, but that's okay. And we just have to sit different ways in the booth because we go out to breakfast a lot. It's our favorite meal, and we just can't sit side by side when I'm using my left hand when we normally sit. So anyway, having a broken wrist has kind of sucked, but there's been good things, with the dictation. I'm using dictation more to write, so that's a good thing, and I'm getting through a little faster. Hopefully, I can get more books out this year than I did last year. But we'll see. We'll see. So enough about me. Let us get straight to the interview, and I will see you after. I want to welcome Jeremy James Smith to the show. How are you doing today?
Having a great day so far.
But you said it's going to rain, but not snow.
Yes, it should be several feet deep of snow, and we don't have it here because the winter has just missed it. George R. Martin was wrong. Winter is not coming here.
Hopefully not. I hate the snow. Hate it so much. So I'm going to read your bio real quick to give everybody just a real quick idea. You live with your family in a lakeside forest in the Pacific Northwest. And when you're not writing the Harken Tales saga, you're visiting Ren fairs, Comic Cons, and state and national parks for inspiration. All my favorite things. And you write fantasy, another one of my favorite things. So jump into your series and give us just kind of an overview of what it's about.
That's two sides to the question, of course. So I've written it so that if you are not interested in any of the deeper meanings, you can enjoy it just like you enjoy The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings. It's a fast-paced, fun, light fantasy story that starts with the coming-of-age tale of Angus Redbeard. And the characters that he meets have driven the story much, much larger. Of course, if you are looking for deeper meanings, you will definitely find it within my writing. And
Yeah.
that's the tease. You have to read it.
And we were talking earlier before we started that social change and things that are going on are always shown in the books from that era. So do you think
Yeah,
that politics or just worldviews even have helped shape your books?
absolutely. When I started writing, it was just to write a fun fantasy story, and it has changed so much based on things that are happening in the real world. So right now, I'm writing the second cycle. I write in 4 book cycles and name them after the geographic areas or the people that they're working with. So this second cycle is called the Moroccan cycle, which is a really thinly veiled reference to what we are looking at as an uh, ad absurdum kind of evolution. What happens if we really go fully isolationist and say it's just about us and push everybody else out? What can happen? What would this look like in the future? And of course, the story is a heroic one. So it's people coming into this ad absurdum future and fixing it, coming back to more of a diverse, working together, looking at each other's good points and the things that maybe one of us does better than the other, and celebrating our differences instead of demonizing them.
And it's got comedy in it too, right?
Yes, throughout. Throughout, I started out with Angus, who is an unintentional hero to start with, and that kind of slapstick humor that's in the background continues, and I've added more and more characters to um, push that. If you're not laughing every few pages or at least getting a chuckle, then I've done it wrong. And that's getting harder as I get more into the social stuff, but I'm working very hard to keep that.
And I like that. I want things to be lighthearted.
Yeah.
You know, my escape from the real world is a book that is just going to take me away and not to make me think about things that I don't want to think about. You know, and that's why I have not finished reading the first book, so don't give me any spoilers. But so far, really am liking it, and I'm on a deadline for a book I'm trying to finish, and I keep picking yours back up again, going, I'll just read 1 or 2 more pages. It's like, no, I gotta stop, I gotta stop. So you have got now you're going to have, by the end of this year, you will have 8 books in this series. And I think it said with more coming after that. So
Yeah.
when you write something that's such a huge saga, do you sit down with an idea of where it's going to end up? Or do you just kind of go with the flow?
So, yes, it started with the latter, and now it is very intentional and planned. So, the first book was completely free form, started out as short stories that I connected together. The second book was the first one where I started kind of saying, yeah, here's where we're going. And the story device at the end of that book became the driver for the next 2 books and allowed me some continuity, some basis to move forward with these. The Dream Vine is the third book. So, Dream Vines as a story element started out as, hey, I've got a character that needs to be saved. I'm going to make a Bacta tank, something that would save it. And the mechanism is that this thing feeds on dreams and feeds other people's dreams back to the dreamer as they're getting healed. And that allows an interchange of information across eons because this dream vine is really old. Um, and that story device just really expanded. So it has become, as a bardcore kind of a major theme. The idea of how I write right now, for the next 4 books, I have set up a spreadsheet, and I kind of looked at got about 25 characters at the beginning of that second set of 4 that are continuing through. And so I said, okay, what do I want to have happen with each one of these characters? And kind of sketched out all of the different storylines for the different characters as they develop, and then plugged them into the spreadsheet to order it into a story that made sense and had a flow to it and had the, the rhythm that you want in a story to have that climax at the end and a reason to read the next one. So it's gotten intentional. It started out random.
Yeah. Oh, I like the idea of the spreadsheet. And this way you take care of all your characters and you don't let any of them slip through the cracks. And plot
Yeah.
points too, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah. So each character got their own um, story arc, and then the overall plot was set up so that I tried to align where the points in their story arc help drive that overarching story forward. And we're still at the end of book 8, only getting to maybe a third the way through the overall story arc, where we get to see a kind of a refreshing of the world and a bringing the world back to where it can be rather than its initial kind of dystopian space or post
Yeah.
dystopian space.
Oh, that's nice because people like long series. And what I liked about when I looked at your books, I liked that they weren't all doorstops. I can't. I mean, I pick up a book. There's so many books that get recommended to me, and I've got a bunch on my shelf. They're like 4 inches thick, and I think, I just can't. It's just too long. It's by the time I finish reading that, I'll have forgotten what happened at the beginning of the book.
Yeah,
So I like short, I like fast paced, and just something that's going to take me along and fairly quickly, so I can take a week and finish a book, instead of 3 months.
that's where we're at now. My favorite character within the Lord of the Rings was Tom Bombadil and his wife Goldberry, and all of those things that happen in the Barrows that are completely skipped over in Peter Jackson's version with the movies.
Yeah.
And he did that because modern sensibilities don't have time for weird little old men running around singing songs to trees. Um, and so while I really, really enjoyed Tom Bombadil, I understand that's not where a lot of readers are today. So if I want to be able to write and have people read my stuff and pay me for the privilege, then I have to kind of be where they want to be as well.
Yeah, I think with the internet and with the way social media is and the way we consume news and everything else, people's attention spans. I want to say I've read an article somewhere of what are the actual attention span. It's something like 3 seconds, something ridiculous. I'd like to think my attention span is a little bit longer than that, but that I love that the world was opened up with the internet. But I don't like what it's done to us. It feels like as a society, it has made us further apart instead of bringing us closer together.
To a certain extent, but I also live in the middle of nowhere and I still have a lot of friends. I've actually gotten back in touch with friends that I had lost touch with decades before. And here you and I are talking across the United States.
Yeah.
So there are good points too. But yeah, there's a little bit of surfaceness that's come up. Uh,
Yeah, and I think it's led people to become anonymous,
yeah,
and we as a people don't do well when we're anonymous.
tend to say what you really think. Yeah. And
Yeah,
sometimes you shouldn't say those things.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe
true.
sometimes you shouldn't think those things, but that's probably farther afield than we should go.
Probably, yeah. So you write fantasy. Have you always wanted to write fantasy?
I had no clue. I was a consummate salesperson driven by business. My license plate said driven, like Driven. That was, I wanted to make sales. I wanted to power through, get all of the sales. And I talked to tens and tens of thousands of people, um, and never had any idea that I had stories in me. I liked reading fantasy, but I never thought about having stories in me until we moved here. My wife got pregnant, and when she had the baby, we had moved away from all of our friends and family. And you can't take care of a sleeping baby through the internet. So she just didn't get to sleep that much while I was off at work.
Yeah.
And my job took me afield. So I'd be gone for 3 or 4 days at a time. And when I did get home and she got a chance to sleep, there could be no noise in the house. And our internet was terrible. I couldn't game. There was nothing to do. The television was boring. So I started writing stories about Angus, who was a character that I had played in a role playing game back in the early 90s. And I just was writing some fun short stories. And as I wrote them, they turned out to be good enough that I wanted to share them with some people. And I was encouraged to turn it into a book. That is how it has moved forward. So that started out in 2011. No, 2009.
2009. Okay.
2009 was when I started writing these. And it wasn't until 2020 that I published the first book. And the next one was published in 2024. Then 2025, I published books 3 and 4. And now I've got a system and it can work. And I've been freed. Now my wife's taking her turn to really push her career forward. And that has allowed me to do more of the, hey, I'm going to take some time and write, hang out with the kids and that kind of thing. So
Oh, that's
that's
nice.
how it
Yeah.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have that nice quiet house because you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
Which for writers, I
You,
don't know. There's some writers that I used to go out to coffee shops. I used to screenwrite, and as a
mhm.
screenwriter, for some reason, it worked better for me in coffee shops. But once I started writing books, I had to be at home with complete silence. I couldn't have any noise whatsoever.
Yeah. There's a guy around the corner from us who has been building a castle on the lake. Like it's got the portcullis to get down to his dock, and there's a water feature that goes through to hide the portcullis, and it's multiple towers and this beautiful wall with crossbow slits and arrow slits. And because of our connection with Ren Fairs, we've been able to tour in costume and be part of videos there. But I will occasionally get onto our very inexpensive pontoon boat and putt over in the middle of the week and sit right in front of a castle
Oh,
with
and that
the
is so,
laptop.
yeah, that puts you right into your
Yeah,
book. Yes.
yeah. That's one of those little rare privileges, and there are so many privileges living in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good.
I mean throughout time we've lived in the middle of nowhere. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, so I was always kind of hesitant to ever go back because
Yeah,
it was truly the middle of nowhere. We lived in a place called Christian Valley, just above Auburn. Moved there in 1976 when no one lived there. There was nobody. I think my parents paid $65,000 for the house in 1976, and 7 acres, the end of a
nice.
road. No neighbors, no nothing. And I should have been writing horror because it would have been just the perfect location. We had bears,
Yep.
and it was just would have been the perfect location for. But at the time, I told myself stories, but I never wrote anything down.
Okay.
So I spent all my time acting out stories or telling myself I was the weird kid that had dolls and talked to them and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think most writers are started with that telling themselves stories or imagining themselves. I mean, you went to Ren fairs,
Yeah.
so you were kind of living out that fantasy before you started writing those things down.
We did a little bit when we were in the 90s, but it wasn't until I started writing and got out of working for somebody else that we started going for inspiration. So the Ren fairs were to support the inspiration of the fantasy writing, which is what I told myself was a justification for going to the next state over in order to get to a Ren fair. And then when one popped up and some people were trying to start it, we got involved. And within a year, we were kind of integral to running it. Now I've had to back out of that so that I could actually write the books on a regular period. The first 7 years of doing that, I wrote and released one book, and then as soon as I got out of that, 3 books came out, and the next 4 are there. But I'm using that. I am still going to Ren fairs. There's a big one in Seattle that has about 100,000 people over 5 weekends. So we built a book pub, a wooden pub that has a bunch of bookshelves and a couple of big bars, and we set that up for 5 weeks and bring people in and tell stories and have fun and ideally sell some books. So that's kind of a guerrilla marketing way to try and get the word out
Oh, I
about the
love
books.
that. So would this be the first year doing that?
This will be the second year.
How did it go last year?
Broke even, except for the fact that the truck tried to die, spit its turbocharger out while we were on the way there.
Oh,
And that ended up being a $6,000 by the side of the road repair.
oh
But
man.
um, we got that done, still got to the show and ran it. It was a break even the first year. The second year, we have figured out how to control our costs more. So I think we'll actually make a profit now. And if I
Nice.
can get these 8 books done quickly enough, then I can have a second series to sell, which will also help.
Nice. When is the fair?
It's in July and August, the middle of July to the middle of August, called
How long do you think it
Washington Midsummers.
when you write your books, do you because you got four you're working on, do you write them all at the same time? Do you kind of jump around? What's your
I
process?
I did the spreadsheet all at the same time. So I kind of did a free form idea, organized it into a spreadsheet, and then I read the entries. I just made like 1 or 2 sentences to represent each chapter, and then kind of read through these outlines to say, do these make sense? Do they have a beginning, a middle, and end? Do they have a climax and a climb and that kind of thing? And now I've got that done so that each chapter has its own entry, and I've fleshed those out a little bit more as I've gone through. So when I start book 6 here, I just finished book 5 and I'm editing that. When I start book 6, I'm going to take all of those entries, and each chapter just gets that entry at the beginning, and I take that and expand it out to about 1,000 words on average per chapter. Quick, fast read as you've been experiencing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's systemized and it's going very quickly now. It took me 2 months, 3 months to be able to do that outline, to really do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We kind of have a similar style. I have my walls are whiteboards. I would turn it to show, but the book I'm currently, the third book in my series is on this board
Mhm.
here, and I had someone yell at me because they could see spoilers. I'm like, oh shoot. I'm like, I'm so sorry. So, but I have one, two, three, four boards that I made with giant fathead whiteboard paper because my walls are rough. I was just going to paint the
Mhm.
wall and make it a whiteboard wall, but it's rough, so I can't write on it. So I did. I got, and then I got, cut them in half so they're 51 by 70. And then I went to Michael's and ordered foam board, and they gave it to me. They wouldn't put the stuff on the foam board for me. So my husband had a great idea. He figured out how to put it all on smoothly, and we got it on. Then I took washi tape to put around the edges, and then put between. So I've got each board broken into thirds, and then I do chapter
Nice.
one, three things that happened. Chapter two, three things. And then I go into the book and I write a paragraph of this is going to happen and then go to town. And thanks to my broken wrist, I now dictate. So I'm even faster. I'm hoping to get more books out this year, because I've got people going. People are still asking about the last two books in a series that I haven't written a new book in 2 years. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I got to get to working on that. So, but the dictating. Have you tried dictating?
I have, and it doesn't work really well for me, but I type quickly. So as long as I don't punch somebody and break my hand, break my wrist, I'll be okay.
Okay, yeah.
And I had to do because it took me so long to get the first ones done. I put myself into a corner at the end of my fourth book and
Uh-huh.
said, here's what I'm writing. Here's when it's going to be out.
Nice.
So I've got, if I don't, then I have put it in writing for anybody who bought that first 4 books. Um, yeah. So no pressure.
No pressure at all. Yeah. No, but it sounds like you're rolling along if you're on book
Yeah.
six.
Yeah. It'll
So,
be done by the end of the year. I just want it to be done by the middle of the year now so that I can market those books at this big show.
and that's the perfect place to have this. Have you thought about going to something like Gen Con?
I have thought about it. I'm going to Comic Con in Seattle. So the Emerald City Comic Con is next month. I'll only have the 4 books, and that I'm trying something new. I'm doing the same book pub, but it'll be 10 by 10 instead of a 20 by 20 space. And within that, I'm sharing the space with 3 other local authors. So we're
Ah,
sharing an Airbnb across the
nice.
street from the convention center and sharing a space. And that way, none of us will feel like we have to be there every second. And I can see some of the cool people at this. Like you're in the writing world, Mary Robinette is there,
Oh,
and
I
Robin
love her.
Hobbs is there, and Terry
Oh,
Brooks, and there are a lot of big names in
yeah.
writing. So
Yeah.
I hope to see some of their presentations while I'm there.
Oh, yeah.
Having other
Nice. Yeah.
people there to help.
I go to Gen Con every year with my daughter. It's our one big thing that we do. And 2 years ago, I first thought, well, I maybe want to go there. One of my series is, which I co-write, is where we roll dice to create prompts. So
Hmm.
those books, I don't have one near me, but those books sell really well, and especially in person. I mean, they just fly off the shelf, and I sell them in ebook too. And I thought, we got 12 of those plus two teacher editions plus another 12 coming out. I thought, do I want to try doing a booth at Gen Con? And then this last year when we went, I thought, I go to play D&D for 4 days. I really don't want to miss that opportunity of just D&D for 4 days.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think of course, I didn't apply to this year, but I think this year I will go to some of the author events. They have a whole
Mhm.
series of one of the girls. I met her last year. Oh God, let me see if I look at TikTok real quick. I want to say Jessica. She does all kinds of lives on TikTok. I can't get my phone to turn on here. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Um, she writes. I want to say she writes. Well, I'm never going to find her now here. Um, Jessica Cage.
Hmm.
So I met her. She had a booth last year and got to chat with her some. And I know I have her books somewhere on my shelf behind me. But she was having a great year. But she does lives on TikTok all the time and signs books and sells on TikTok. Now I know you have a huge TikTok following, like 44,000 people. Have you thought about having a TikTok shop?
I have. I have. I just honestly have not prioritized it because I've been doing, hey, I want to do this live event or I want to write these books. And I seem to only have so many spoons.
Yeah.
But yes, I've got a decent TikTok following. Being honest, most of that is probably comedy and politics more than writing. I'd love it if it was all readers who were following me, but
Oh,
it's all people who enjoy funny TikToks.
yeah. Yeah. Well, you never know who your readers are going to be.
Yeah, yeah,
One of my series is cozy, and I have a lot of men in their 70s that read my books. Now,
yeah,
the title of the first one is How to Sex Your Snake. So a lot of them came thinking it was something different and then stuck around because it was funny and they liked it. Um,
yeah,
but you never know where readers are going to come from.
yeah.
So
Well,
a lot of those people might need some kind of an escape and might want to
so you're
read.
telling me that this is an effective sales channel and I might want to explore it?
TikTok.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually, I was just listening to Joanna Penn 3 episodes ago. So, well, let's see, it's the second week of February. So, end of January, she did a one with Adam, I think Bresnick, and I mean, he came out of nowhere and he has a warehouse now, and he's sold like 16,000 books on TikTok. So I would recommend going back and listening to, I'm looking here to see what his name is. I should know what it is because, come on, show me the show notes. Show me the show notes. Show notes. It doesn't want to even show me. Here we go. Adam Beswick. Sorry, Adam. Beswick. So this would be episode is Joanna Penn, and it's like a January 2026 episode. So, January 26th, actually. January 26th, 2026 was the episode. And he talks about how he took social media and just got people to join mailing lists and did this and that and didn't buy any ads anywhere and turned
yeah,
this into a business where his wife was able to quit her job. I want to say she's a structural engineer and she manages
yeah.
his warehouse and his all that stuff now. And I have not read any of his books, but I've heard of him. And I remember 2 years ago when he first started talking. I think it was on the 20 books to 50K web group. He was first talking about how he was doing TikTok, and all of a sudden it was taking off, and people are like, "Who is this guy? What's going on?" And I think he spoke at Author Nation last year. I did not go last year. I went 2 years ago, but I'd gone 3 years in a row, and I'm like, I'm starting to see the same classes over and over again. So I think I need a
Yeah.
different. I told my husband I need to either go to Ireland or to England, or to Hawaii. There's also one in Hawaii. I
Yeah.
thought that sounds great. And then my husband had something to do while I was at talks all day long. He could go out and
Yeah.
do tours and things, and look at plants. He's like an amateur botanist. He loves. He's always changing the plants and rearranging. How things look. And we had a horrible frost, three horrible frosts in a row. So, and we're in Central Florida, and all of our plants are on death's door. It's just really sad. It's really sad.
Yeah. I understand you had to watch out for falling iguanas and
You do. In Florida, you do. We used to live in Key West, and my mother and I were walking into a restaurant, and an iguana fell out of a tree in front of us and landed on the ground, like belly up. Both of us screamed, scared the hell out of both. I'm just happy it didn't hit her on the head because she was very frail at the time. But yeah, it gets cold, and they will fall out of trees, and all the locals know you don't touch them. They're not dead. And if you need to, you can just kind of push them to one side.
talking about those conventions. And having your spouse not want to be there. My wife made sure that when we were at Comic Con a few years ago and there was a Jim Butcher thing, we both got to go and watch the man in the muscle shirt and the long, beautiful hair. And he actually had a lot of fun stuff to say. If you get a chance, he's awesome.
Oh, I love his books.
The year before that, I got to go to the same show, just attending with a friend of mine who's in the computer game industry. And he took me through the line, and we waited to the last people in line so we could spend a little extra time with a guy he called Bob, who wrote this Dragonlance stuff, Dritz, R.A. Salvatore. And I got to get some of my writing advice before I published Holtgart from R.A. Salvatore. And the big thing I remember was just keep writing. The rest of
Yes.
it'll happen. If you don't write, you don't have anything to sell or publish. So just keep writing was the biggest part of what he had to say. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah. Get the words down on the page because yeah, if there's nothing on the page, you have nothing to edit. Yeah. Yeah. And I know I mentioned dictating earlier, and I can't remember what podcast it was. I listened to a lot of them, but the lady told people, when you're dictating, make the screen really small so you can't see it. And I'm just screaming at the phone, no, because if you can't see it, it is not going to dictate well, and you're not going to know what the hell you said when you go back to read it later.
I would think there would be a lot of editing. My best day was 8,000 words in a day, but it
Wow.
was edited and ready to go at the end. So if I can do that, that's a great day. More commonly, it's more like 2 to 3,000 words a day that are near production quality. I do a lot of the rehashing and reworking, like trolls in Tolkien, and I keep going to Tolkien. That was my basis. My world is Tolkien-esque because that's where I want to be. If I could choose any alternate reality, I'd live in a Tolkien-esque world.
Oh,
So trolls,
what would you be in the Tolkien world?
probably a Dunedain.
Oh, okay. Those are the tree ones.
Dunedain, Aragorn was a Dunedain,
Oh,
one of the
okay,
men of
okay,
the West.
okay.
They're
It's
not quite elves, but they're longer lived and they tend to be influential but quiet.
okay. Yeah, I don't know my Tolkien real well. The Hobbit was like I carried that everywhere when I was a kid and
Yeah.
read it over and over and over. I could not get into Lord of the Rings though. I think because of the battle scenes, it just
Mm,
kept losing me
okay.
for that one. But
Yeah,
there's the movie, so I could watch one of those one day.
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
I'm
I
sorry I
was
interrupted
somewhere.
you.
I've lost my train.
I'm sorry.
You get to a certain age. and the train can derail relatively easily. Trolls. I was talking about
Yes,
trolls.
yes.
And in Tolkien's world, one of the big story elements was that the sun came up and the troll turned to stone, and it was completely magical. And it always bothered me that sometimes orcs could be out in the sun and sometimes they couldn't. And there were so many little fixes that had to be written in. So I thought about trolls, and I kind of wanted most life forms, most humanoid life forms, to be based on the same thing. So in my world, trolls are basically human, but they have, instead of normal skin, their skin is covered with sticky, slimy, gooey stuff, and they will stick their environment to them to act as camouflage, to act as armor. So if you're in the mountains, you might find a troll that looks like it's made out of stones. But if you hit it hard in the right place, maybe a stone will come off. Or if you're trying to kill the troll, maybe you'll use the pick side of your axe and get in between the stones to get to the vulnerable spot. But if you're on a tropical island, you mentioned Hawaii. If you're in Hawaii, maybe the troll is going to have volcanic rocks and coral and seashells and things that it thinks are good camouflage, or maybe just pretty, depending
Yeah.
on the world they live in. And I do have a tropical island called the Connemara Atoll where the trolls are that kind of colorful, fun group. And I've really enjoyed kind of rehashing some of the existing tropes in ways that might make them kind of make sense, kind of ish,
Yeah.
ish.
Yeah, you wanna make it work for your world. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
I'm also really, really enjoying with a longer series the ability to look back and see things that they're Easter eggs now. I didn't mean them, but then I can take these little bits. And as I move forward, I've come up with a group that I still haven't named officially, but I'm calling them as codename the Babushkas,
Okay.
which is a secret society of women. And the requirement is that you have to have gone through a change in life. You can't have any spouse or dependent kids near you where they might have to call on you. And then these people insert themselves into different places in society and they make things happen. They influence. They're the neck that turns the head, like from the My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And they communicate with each other through Russian nesting dolls type of things.
Oh, that's cool.
So the outside doll is painted in the manner of the person that it's supposed to go to, and that's the address. So they'll say, take this to this city, and then get it to this person, and that person gets it to the right person. And the next one inside is their self portrait, the from field, and then the people inside are the different subjects, and there's a little bit of art to decoding what's there because it's not text. There's symbology and whatnot that different people would put in for their different messages. But I'm really enjoying having this secret society. Like there's a queen, and her mentor just seems to be this barkeep, tavern keeper who kind of raised her up when her mom was killed. But really, she's one of these babushkas and is like seriously important as is influencing world events from a very mundane looking position.
On your TikToks, you have got a tractor named
Mhm.
John.
It's a John Deere, of
Oh,
course. Little John.
John Deere, of course. Of course. Oh, I love that you call it John, though.
Yeah. I have to wander the woods with Little John.
Oh, that's
And
great.
you started with snow. I used the John Deere to clear the snow, not just for myself, but for my neighbors.
Oh,
So I
good.
clear about 3 miles of mountain road. And that's also a great time to sit and listen to podcasts and whatnot and get my brain a little bit out of it and then back into it. Sometimes you need a break.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. And like I said, I recommend Joanna's one with Adam talking about selling on TikTok Shop. And he talked about a lot of things with using social media that I hadn't thought about. And, we get busy and we don't have anybody doing our marketing for us. And we have to do our marketing ourselves.
Yeah.
And he had some great, I mean, I made tons of notes, and I'm listening to it a second time. And I hope to implement some of that stuff after I'm done, after I turn in my book. And it's supposed to go on the 16th, but I told my editor, yeah, maybe a week late. We'll see. We'll see. We'll
And you're
see.
traditionally published, right?
No, 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 I'm not.
Okay.
I am not. I was a literary agent for 5 years in the 90s,
Mhm.
and it kind of put me off traditionally publishing. You have no control. You have no say in anything. Your book takes forever to go out, and you have like 2 weeks with your
Yeah.
book with the spine out only, unless they feel really good about your book and they're going to pay for table space near the front door, which, unless you're a name, they're not going to do. And after those 2 weeks or so, I'm sure it's different now, but after that initial time, they're going to pulp the books, and you've lost your rights for however many years they have it. They're not going to do audio if they don't think there's any money in it.
Hmm.
And people always say, "Well, I want to be. I'm a real author if I'm traditionally published," and I always tell them, "You're a real author if you write. You
Yeah.
know, if you make sales." And I remember having lunch with a group of friends who were all traditionally published, and I had one lady was complaining she got her quarterly royalty check of 70 cents, and I said,
Ouch.
"I make more in a day than you make in a quarter. That's really bad."
Yeah.
And I keep all my profits, especially when I sell direct on my website, my ebook and audiobooks. I make almost $4 on some of them in profit.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. I don't. Yeah, and I do have a friend that Podium picked up her books for audio, and she went ahead and sold the rights for audio, and she made some good money on it, and they sell well. But she was selling. They found her because she has a sci-fi series, and it was going so crazy. I think that she was able to leave her job and write full time. So, I mean, that's the dream for everybody is to be able
Hmm.
to write full time. Now,
Yeah.
you're not traditionally published at all, right?
And I'm not. No.
No, no. Do you have interest in being traditionally published? It's
Oh,
different for
I think
everybody.
there's a fantasy where I'm at one of these live events and some daddy warbucks comes by and says, "I'd like to give you $3 million for this story and make it into a Netflix special." At which point I would be happy to say, "Take it, you got
Take
it,"
yes,
because it's going to be unlikely that with my first series, no matter how big it gets, that I'm making millions and millions of dollars without it going really big like that.
yeah,
Um, but until then, until I get that um, Cinderella story, I think I'm going to stay with being able to control things. Like I've got a reader who's doing my audiobooks right now. And I found a young man who is really, really good at doing all of the different voices, and he's a
nice.
sound engineer, and
Oh,
it's
nice.
great, you know. So he's slow, but he's so good. I have been willing to wait so far for getting all of these really nice readings. We were on earlier today. He just started reading the third book in, so he's only 2 books behind. And ideally, we'll get to that point where I write a chapter and he reads it in, and it gets going that way. That would be ideal. But the control, being able to say, yeah, I'm going to take a bunch of my books and I'm going to go to a Ren fair, which is
Yeah,
not conventional book marketing. You know, I
yeah,
do see some other authors doing it. I'm not the only person with that idea.
yeah.
Um, but nobody's going to give me any grief for it. And if I decide to change platforms, I can change platforms.
Change covers. You can do whatever you want
Yes.
to do. Yeah, yeah. When you go to shows, do you sell ebooks in person?
I have not done that yet. My ebooks right now are entirely through Kindle, and what I've done is just set up a QR code saying, "Hey, if you want the ebook or the audiobook, go ahead and run this QR code and get that." Um,
Okay, because I recommend I teach a class on ebooks, creating your own ebook code cards, and they sell enough that they pay most of my table. So
really?
yes, especially my nonfiction. And whenever people and I'm teaching probably teaching the same class again this year at Wild Deadwood Reads in June. in North Dakota, in South Dakota, excuse me, North Dakota, South Dakota. And people, I always start asking how many people have a QR code on their table, and how many
Mm.
sales do you have from that QR code, and do you track that sales? And I can guarantee you, most people are going to look at it and walk away. But if you have a code card, and I have one sitting right here from the last class, I changed them. I changed them up. So this one just looks like this. And this was actually from the class that I taught,
Mhm.
one of the first classes I taught. So it had the cover on the front, and I gave it out to people, and there's a code on the back. And yeah, I wrote claimed already on it, so I knew that I could throw this one out. But normally I have them in if it's an ebook, it's in the Kindle, so it looks like the code card's a little bit bigger, and it's going to look like it's inside a Kindle. And
Okay.
then the audiobooks will have headphones, and then people at a glance know what they are, and it has the price on the card. And people go through, and then when people come through, I forget who was the, I think it was the guy who does Damon, who does Book Funnel. I met him years ago at a convention. He's actually the one who gave me the idea. He said, "Are you selling ebooks?" And I said, "Yeah," because they were, they're through Book Funnel. And he said, "Tammy Lebrecht, who does Ninja, she
Sounds
teaches
familiar.
he teaches classes." Anyway, he said she's got him on a board, and people just grab all of them off the board and buy them. And he said, make sure that because you have a lot of books, make sure as you're talking to people, you hand them the card. So at a show when we're talking about my prompt books that I co-author, I will say, what do you write? And they'll start listing off the things they write, and I pull off one card for each. We have genres, and then we have types.
Mhm.
Just keep pulling off cards. But once I get to so many cards, like once I hit about six, I stop handing them cards because it just feels tacky. But most people won't hand them back. They'll go ahead and buy them. So
Okay.
that's just a little sales
So
technique.
it is something you are
It
specifically
is a
vending a piece of
physical thing.
paper.
Yep, it's a physical thing. And I have
Huh.
I started out with a cork board, not cork board, pegboard. I started out with a pegboard. I made it myself, and I went and got little, hardware that could make it stand up, and I painted it, and I wrote, the things across the top, and then I had the cards all across. And I was at the first show I had that at I was in a back corner, and I saw these three ladies come through, and they came to my table and they said, "We're looking for cozy." And I said, "Those are mine." And they each grabbed all three. I only had three books at the time, all three books, each of them. I said, "Don't you want to look at the book and read like a paragraph to see if you like my writing?" Nope. And I sold 9 books just like that. And
Nice.
I'm like, okay, cool. So, especially the nonfiction sell really well. But the thing people need to understand is if you're going to a place like a Ren Fair, people don't
Mhm.
want to carry stuff that's
Yeah.
heavy. So they're going to want to grab ebooks in ebook and audiobooks, because then they can grab them and they can stick them in their pocket, and they don't have to carry a book
How is the ebook fulfilled then?
through Book Funnel.
Okay.
I think you can also fulfill through Story Origin. I'm not sure. I don't use Story Origin, but through Book Funnel, and it costs me $30 a month for my ebooks and my audiobooks. And I think I forget how many hours of download for audio, but I've never had it exceeded ever.
And then
And
you're not on Kindle Unlimited at that point.
nope, not on KU. I
Okay.
I sometimes will be in KU and then pull the books out before I go to a show, but it just got to be too much going back and forth, and it just didn't seem fair or whatever. And I get lazy and I forget about stuff, so I'm like, nah. I went wide with everything, but I sell more at and like I said to people, you have the card. They're going to pick it up physically and walk away with it. And you want to make sure at the top it says ebook and then the price, or audiobook and then the price. And like I said, you go to deposit photos, and you get the picture of a Kindle, and then you stick your cover inside the white space, and then you print those out, and you print them. I think I'm trying to think of the size. I increased the size because these ones I made for the class, and the ones that I sell at shows are a little bit bigger. and then I updated to make them even bigger so that they're real noticeable for people walking by. Because the price is on it, the price is above it, and people will still say, "How much is it? What is it?" It's an
Sure.
ebook. See, it says it right there on the card. Uh, and how much is it? See, it's $3 or $5, depending on the book or what it is. Um, but I highly recommend, especially the Ren Fair with people coming and they're
Mhm.
not going to be wanting. They're already carrying all the astrolabes and what do you say, astrolabe? Hello?
That would be a thing, yes.
Yeah, they're carrying those, where you do the track the stars, where you're
Yeah.
carrying those, and your crowns and all the other things that you've bought, and the beer steins and all that. And books are heavy,
Hmm.
especially fantasy books because they're usually pretty thick. So you have these code cards, and you can get 500 codes per month on Book Funnel. But if you need more, you just send them an email, and they'll create more for you. I've never had them say no. And if I know I'm going to be doing a show and I'm running out of cards, I just start the previous month and make more. And I'm going to be trying some lives, putting my cards together and talking about the cards because I want to see more people making ebook code cards like this and having
Sure.
audiobook code cards. Because when I will go to shows, I want to buy 30 books. I can't carry 30 books out to the car.
Yeah.
So I want to buy them like this, and you sell them for $5 each or $10, whatever price you want. But people, they do grab these, and like I said, especially nonfiction, they sell like crazy. But they also, the cozies, and this will be my first time having fantasy books at
Yeah.
out in public because I'm just on the third book. So I'd be very interested to see how the fantasy ones sell. But yeah, if have more questions, I can
Yeah.
talk more about this. And I do have, I think on the channel, I've got one where I talked, but it was a couple of years ago, and I don't recommend doing it the way I did at the time. I've
Mhm.
updated how I do all this stuff. It's much less expensive, and it can be where the code cards end up costing me about 6 cents each.
That's
So
not bad.
suddenly you've got tons of profit,
Yeah.
and I mean, the biggest expense is buying the stands, and I've got spinny
Hmm.
ones because I've got 14 books for one and then 10 or something for the other. So the spinny ones really save
That's
table
great.
space. Yeah. But yeah, for doing the thing, I would recommend that you talk to the other authors who also will be coming and talk to them about putting these together. And I can put together I'll send you my slides when I put them together for Deadwood so that you can see how I did them. You know,
I appreciate that.
yeah, yeah. And then more people will make them, and I can buy more books. So that would make me a
Yeah.
very, very happy camper.
Yeah. That's always the plan, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. More books.
I have a lot that I have not read. I went to talk to Todd Lockwood. Are you familiar with him? He does dragon art that you've seen on a bunch of the covers of fantasy stuff for the last 30 years.
Yeah, I think I
Um,
recognize the name.
so I got to meet him and I
Oh,
said,
cool.
"So, what's it going to cost me and how long is the wait going to be in order to get this?" And he said very clearly it was a 6 year wait. $17,000 is the entry level for a cover. So I don't have a Todd Lockwood cover, but I did buy his first book because he's now getting into writing fantasy, which
Mm.
is what he always wanted to do. But he drew dragons too well and just kept getting roped into cover after cover. So now he's trying to make that a little bit more rare and do the writing thing. Never been able to read it. It's
Oh,
still sitting right there on my shelf.
but when it's a beautiful cover or end papers, or not end papers, the edges where they have either printed or painted, um,
Yeah.
those are just, those are
Yeah.
beautiful.
That takes a lot to get that done. I have not found an automated service yet that does that. Does the painted ends?
The paint, if you want to go with just print
Yeah.
vellum, I write in vellum. I love well, actually, I've been writing in pages because vellum will not it does not work well for spell check. So
Okay.
and it's not on my iPad, and I want to sit in my chair and dictate. But they now have it so you can have printed edges. And there's a company that they work with, and I think it's $150, and they will make the design for you, and you can
Mhm.
use it on up to two or three books, I think, um, for the license. And I thought, that's pretty good. It might be a little bit more. I can't remember. And there's probably
Yeah.
more. If you had a full series and you wanted the same edges for every book. But they also explained how to make it. Or they didn't, but somebody else did.
I haven't gotten that fancy yet. I'm still writing in, and this upsets my wife who does my formatting. I'm still writing in Google Docs.
No. Well,
I
you can
started
import
in
it.
Word and got out because I was doing so much traveling and I wanted to be able to
Oh,
write
yeah,
wherever I was.
yeah,
And Microsoft has that now, so it shouldn't be a problem. I
yeah.
can't
Well,
afford three people right now.
okay, now who is it? Kevin Tomlinson has a company. I forget the name of it. I'm gonna have to look it up and put it in the show notes. That they have author assistants, and I want to say it's $7.50 an hour for their author assistants.
That's cheap.
So yeah, I don't know how much money you have to put down to, because I'm sure they'll want a few hundred for them to work from, so they don't have to worry about getting paid later.
Yeah.
But I want to say it's author something, but it's Kevin Tomlinson. And he was talking about it recently on Writers Inc. And then I went and looked at it. And then what you do is you just send them a note of what you need, and then they call you and you talk about what your needs are and such, and then they match you with somebody. And
Yeah.
they're all vetted. I think I would do stuff that didn't involve credit cards. You know, I just don't trust anybody else with my credit card information or my information to my money.
This is why Vellum isn't on my alert list here because it's only for Mac.
Yes, it's only for Mac. Yep.
I'm
Yep.
one of those evil people who was a command line junkie for so long that
Yeah, and
I
I
have
I,
not
I
made
bought
the
an
switch.
I ditched PCs just so I could have Vellum. So I saw it on a friend's computer and went, "Yeah, that's for me. I love it." I don't know, but oh my God, I've kept you for like 3 hours. It feels like I'm so sorry. Um, but
It's a good conversation.
it has been. It's been really good. Where can people find you to buy your books?
So harkentale.com is my website. Harken as in something to listen to and a tale, stories worth listening to, Harkentale. Or you can look up the Harkentale Saga on Amazon, and everything is right there. Right now, my audiobooks are on Author Central. I think that's going to change and just go to Audible because Audible has been where all of my sales have come from so far. So as I upload the next ones, unless I can come up with a really good argument to try and stay wide with Author Central, I think I'm probably going back to Audible and reloading that way.
Yeah, we got to go where the money is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. People all the time say, I don't want to buy on Amazon. Well, authors, we get 99.9% of our sales from Amazon,
Yeah.
except for Adam, who gets 16,000 on TikTok. So, yeah, everybody go check that one out too. I'll put links to everything we talked about in the show notes.
Great.
And thank you so much for coming on today. And
Thank you.
you have to come back on again after your Ren Fair because I want to hear all about how the bookstore at the Ren Fair
Yeah.
went.
I'd be happy to do that. That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you so much. Everything we discussed is down on the show notes. Go grab one of his books. Go check out the Ren Fair. Go check it out. I wish that I was a few states closer and I would go to the Ren Fair because I love those things. Get one of those little flower crowns and run around and just have beer and turkey legs and go to all the shows, see the jousting. Love Ren Fairs. Anyway, I'm going to get sidetracked and then talk for another 90 minutes. That's it for this week. I will have another great show for you next week. And until then, go read a good book.